What's up, fellas? If you spend any amount of time on social media lately, I mean, not even lately, the past few years, you have seen so many articles about poor literacy rates of kids in K through, or maybe like 2 through 6, or even high school kids, or these weird stats that have no verifiable evidence or methodology of how these stats came to be about people being in, borderline literate in college, all these things. And so many people are taking aim at schools in a way that doesn't seem very productive to me. As someone who's been in education for over 30 years, there are some profound things wrong with how we do education in the United States. Um, I'm a union guy, but sometimes the unions protect the wrong people. We've allowed in, I'll say it, lightweight terrorist groups like Moms of Liberty and other things to affect school board decisions. We have parents who probably haven't read a book in 20 some odd years trying to dictate what teachers teach in their classes. You have parents talking about how they should install surveillance systems so they can know what type of indoctrination schools are doing. Because why are kids learning how to be good people instead of learning how to read or write? Which is crap. Because if teachers were going to indoctrinate students, it would be to get their work on time. It would be to turn in permission slips on time. It would be to not eat in class. It would be to stay off their phones. That's what we would be indoctrinating them into, not some crazy conspiracy. Oh, we're teaching white kids to hate themselves, or we're teaching black kids to be perpetual victims. There's so much talk around school, around from people, especially parents who don't have any real stake in it other than their child goes to school. There's a lot of problems with schools. Like I said, there's not enough time. There's not enough money. There's not enough vetting because we have so many people who say they know how to work with kids. Then they get into a classroom and all they do is just lean on the discipline. They have no relational abilities. But one thing I want to go back to is the idea of literacy. Literacy isn't just a skill, it's a mindset. So when parents are freaking out, because it used to be the parent and the teacher working together to support the child. That was a fantastic model because there was this closing of the homeschool loop that school was reinforcing was being expected at home, and at home school's expectations were being met, like you had a place and a time to do your homework. Excuse me. And granted, times are rough. You have some parents working 3 to 4 jobs just to make the ends meet. You have people who have split and they're co-parenting. You have kids bouncing around between houses. And being a parent, especially in the, middle fourth, or the first fourth of the 21st century, it's hard as hell to be a parent. It's super difficult. However, you cannot blame the schools entirely for your kid not being able to read. Do you have a literate household? Meaning, how many books and magazines does your child have to walk past before they get to a television or a tablet? Do you have DEAR time? DEAR, drop everything and read. How much is reading a part of your family's culture? Because if you aren't doing, and granted, even if you are so worked to death that you can't do that, what you can do is get a library card. What you can do is encourage your child to take a book out from the school's library. What you can do is read to your child. And I'm sorry, you can be tired, you can be struggling. However, when you chose to have a child, you took on some responsibilities. And part of that responsibility is making sure that your child can survive in a world. Your job is to pave the way for your child to live better than you did. And I would argue that teaching your child early to be literate, to have some media discernment, media literacy, to learn how to read, learn how to put words together, is probably one of the best things you could possibly do for your child, because no one can take that away. People can take away your jobs. Schools can close. But when a kid can read and navigate the world, there's nothing that can take that away. And so I am encouraging all parents to get books into your house. Have a literate household where reading is actually magnified, where reading is part of your familial culture. Yes, hold the schools accountable. I mean, for example, my daughter went to a school, Nelda Mundy, Fairfield, California, where they were having the only black girl in class empathize with a slave owner. So that is harmful education. And no, I do not for a second believe that there are schools teaching white kids to hate themselves. I know that there are people teaching American history, and it makes me wonder why parents are so upset about teaching that type of stuff in schools, because they think that white kids are going to identify with slave owners and not abolitionists or people who are against the institutions of slavery, or people getting mad at teaching about gay people. There are gay people in the world. Any event that you love, I guarantee you, there are gay people helping to make it run. Church choirs, especially black church choirs. Come on now. And I know this is a rambling post, but it's really irking me to see how much heat is being put on schools to make kids literate, where parents and grandparents and aunties and uncles and whoever else is in the family aren't making the same efforts to get their child to literacy, and whatever the baseline literacy is. I mean, some kids, read early. I read early. I read The Hobbit in kindergarten. I mean, I read early. Some people read late. But if you just keep reinforcing it, if you keep talking about the importance of being literate, the importance of books, the importance of understanding how to navigate your world through the written and the read word, not just spoken word. Orality is easy. We're born to speak. It's easy. Even if we're grunting, it conveys information. But me being able to look at something, and maybe it's fear. Because I'll tell you, when my kid started to learn to read, she read a homeless person's sign, and we had to have a whole conversation about why that person couldn't come home with us. Literacy unlocks the world in a way that being illiterate keeps you confined, that keeps you contained. Yes, schools have some responsibility to make sure that your child becomes literate. However, parents, you have just as much, if not more, responsibility to make sure that your child is prepared to learn how to become literate. Please take that responsibility seriously, because if you don't, where does that leave your kid?